Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this most auspicious occasion in celebration of Gloria's lovely book, Ash, and its release. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Gloria's dear friend and exceptional poet, Andre Gritzman, who will give the introduction. And now here's Andre.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored to say a couple of words about Gloria's book. We've known each other for years now. It was a very lucky strike for me, not only in my literary career, but in my life, because Gloria is such a wonderful and trusted friend. It's a wonderful thing among poets. Now, we're talking about Gloria tonight. I tell you, I was really amazed with this book. It's very, very different from other. I know Gloria's work for quite a while, and this book is very different, which is one of the most important things for a poet. It means that the poet is work in progress, that it's not repetition of the same craft, of the same kind of a coursing on a talent, on the same wave. No, it's a step ahead, another step ahead. And I was reading through this book. I was even pleasantly surprised, because the range of poems from wonderful, I'd say, a prose poem, plastic book starts with that, to short masterpieces, which is Gloria is really master of Thorn. If Gloria would allow me, I would love to start with this and just read this poem, short poem, because it struck me. You weighed me down, your intelligence exhausting. In this hemisphere, aloneness strikes, an emptiness, a hollow heart shaking. You're a thorn, hurtful, condemned. You realize you aren't the one. The thing is, very few words. It's a very short poem, and everything is in there. It's like, you can write a novel, based on this poem. And there is a good saying about one of the major poets said that some time ago, that in poetry, three things are important, but on a different level. One thing is a topic, the theme. Well, the theme, it's very important, but not the most important one. But the themes and topics of Gloria's poems are always interesting. They're always arresting, I would say. Then how it is done, the craft, the poetic craft. Well, the Ash is the document, the evidence of the magnitude of Gloria's craft. And the most important thing is personality, is what's behind all this. There are quite a few people nowadays with MFA programs and all who know how to write and who produce very decent free verse or almost free verse and all that. But not everyone has such a personality as Gloria. Deep, flamboyant, I would say, very hurt, and very, very generous to poetry and to other people. And again, I'm very honored to say a couple of words of admiration. And I'm learning from Gloria. From this book, I'm going to be rereading this book and learning. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andre. I'm so touched by everything that you have said, and it means a lot to me, as well as your friendship and your writing. So really, thank you. And there's a few other thank yous, before I share with you my work. And I want to thank RJ Jeffries for hosting tonight, and Ami K, who published this book. She is just a gem to work with, one of the nicest people. And there's a few others here tonight that she has published also. And Steve Musson for his production, such a nice guy too. And I feel very, very fortunate and lucky You know, and I'm just so excited to have all of you here to celebrate Ash with me. And if you haven't seen it, here it is. And I'm just like tickled pink. And when I saw the cover, I just knew that was it. It was me. And so I'm so grateful for them letting me have it and it being on the cover. And so the first poem I would like to read is called Protected. And there's just one thing I want to say about this book. I have heard all my life for close to 40 years working with addicts, all men 21 and up, about their bad relationships. And then when I'm on the street, cafes, buses, you name it, people always tell me their problems, and it usually is bad relationships. So I knew I needed a twist for it rather than just going, oh, so-and-so did this. So that's when I came up with calling it Ash and burning everybody. And a phrase that helped me come to that was, oh, you burnt me. We've heard that before. I was burned by that person. So I just took it further. So this is called Protected. Inside the house was his life, protected by a roof. By the time the firemen got there, it was gone. He sifts through what remains, eyes sunk, hands asleep, brain idle for hours. The man surfaces his heart. He carries it away delicately. It still beats, and he breathes, asking, how much sorrow can this heart take? There is never an answer. Barely. Pulled from the fire unconscious, skin blackened, filleted, sliding off skin, you burnt me. Barely alive, thinking of how it was between us, laughing at things that only we got. What happened that your flame became destructive? Over and over, flesh burned. You could never catch up with yourself, even when hosed with water. You drown. No, I will not throw you a life preserver. Messes. How many messes do I have to clean up for what comes out of your mouth? After the fire died out, the ashes were swept. No house, no clothes, no furniture, no books, nothing left. No sign of us living there. Life is funny sometimes. It takes fire after fire until the water comes. It was cool, soothing, beautiful, and glowing. Unfortunately now, there is only the dimness of the sunset, happening too many times. Factory. The body is weak, susceptible to illness. A factory where humans stand in line as Earth runs out of room. What will kill them? So many buried, no one visits the graves, yet their stones become tourist attractions. Someone left a Coke on top of one grave. They could have poured it onto the ground. The soul wanted a drink, but the soil remains parched. And this next one is called Air. Is there no more hope for the brave? Voices shouting out. There are tears for the widowed families, for those who lost friends, and prayers offered. Why is there such violence, hate? People strangling the heart out of existence until only valves lay in the street. Events are bloody, broken bones stay broken, killing is natural for some. Fires set to buildings, burning, the heart cold with anger, rage engulfing life. Not everyone believes in destruction. All the heart wants is to beat. Angel, wrap your Wrap your wings around the oppressed. Hold and protect against evil and the hands entangling the last breath, the last gasp. The dead bodies cannot sing. Therefore, the world is empty. So that's a nice little tongue twister for me this evening. This next poem came about, I watch a lot of serial killer movies, true crime. I love it all. And so this poem came out of that. Baked. With a rolling pin in my hand, I roll your heart out flat. Stop it from beating. The redness of blood turned to wax, sticky while wet. I mix it with flour for consistency. Mind you never had this. Skin is added for extra flavor. After cutting up a few veins, my creation is ready to bake. Once out of the oven, all crisp, all beautiful, the door is opened and I throw it out for the birds. Peck away, my friends. Eventually, all men get flown. What if God is strict? I'm looking for the right flesh with no bleeding. My voice free, hanging from the crucifix. Passion from these lips igniting sins to clot my mouth. Crucifixes break every day, are shoved into a drawer, collect dust in a thrift shop. Sometimes Jesus becomes so dusty that cleaning him is a problem. The dust too thick to let him resurrect. When he does, he sneezes. Maybe Jesus will develop an allergy, a miracle of life. This poem, I brought a little bit of Illinois into it. Escape. Trying to escape, but I am surrounded by flat land. No place to go. If I stand behind the tree, you will find me. Behind the barn, you will find me. Behind the house, you will find me. You would not expect me to hide down by the Illinois River or in the caves of starved rock. I will be there until my body decays. I will become a beautiful plant. When you walk past, I will give you a rash. When I do mistranslations, which is taking language I don't know and trying to translate it as fast as I can, I always like to use the name Albert. It just kind of appeals to me. This isn't a mistranslation, but the title is called Albert. Albert was crazy. History for the global world, a hermit wearing loafers. A bottle of wine in a brown paper bag. He yearned for it. Sometimes vodka, whiskey, rum. It all got his adrenaline going. Mild-tempered, Albert rambled about world produce, his language compartmentalized into words, drink, eat, death, monster. He laughed, quenched his thirsty throat, swigging unfairness into his gut. In his own world, it has to feel good to own the dark alleyways. Sit down, he says. We face tight hands around the bottle and drink until narrowly slipping into someplace else. This next poem, you heard Andre mention it, Plastic. And the first three sections are true. The fourth section is made up. And I had a client who I tried to say stay away from women, but he wouldn't. So he would come back with all these dating stories. And when he told them they were hysterical, he had a way about him. And unfortunately, he died. And the two other staff people that know of this story also died. And most of the clients in the house actually are dead. So it's really kind of sad. And for those of you that don't know, I worked in addictions for close to 40 years. And I was a counselor and a clinical director. And I'm happy to be retired, but some things stay with you. So this is called plastic. 1. X was only 2 months sober and was telling everyone he had a date. Despite being told to concentrate on his sobriety and not women, he would not listen. The next day, he said they went out for dinner. Afterwards, she invited him to her place for coffee. When they walked into her apartment, there were dolls sitting at the kitchen table, on the couch, in the bedroom, and even on the toilet. Doll eyes watching him, creepy. He left. We all teased him and said he should have kissed a doll. There would be no heart beating. All he would have to do is keep his lips closed. There would be no feelings. 2. X was sitting in the car with his date, about ready to go to dinner, when she said, "Wait! I have to wrap my head up in tinfoil. It is important for me to communicate with the aliens." X looked at her in disbelief. He took the tinfoil box from her and wrapped his head up with it, waiting for a miracle. 3. It has been a while since X went out on a date. He sat in the car with her as she smacked her gum and then stuck the chewing gum on the dashboard. Then she dug out her lipstick from her purse. X was still focusing on her gum on the dashboard. He looked around her car more closely and saw gum stuck all over the place. He felt a knot in his stomach and was disgusted, got out of the car without saying a word. About a block later, as he was thinking, he reached in his pocket and unwrapped a piece of gum and chewed. 4. The sirens were going off. X knew it was time to get out. His heart was beating quickly. X was scared he would not make it. Heavy black smoke was filling the apartment. He jumped and realized it was just a dream. Next to him was a woman, young and very pretty. His heart smoldered. He thought, what did I do to deserve such a thing? Just then, a fireman knocked down the door and revived him. There was no girl, just a fire hose through the broken window. Sometimes, X, a flame is just a flame. And the last part of the book, again, I was inspired by serial killers and true crime. And I had a blast writing this section of the book. And the first section is about the man, and then the last half is about the woman. And there's initials only. A/K. K sliced open his stomach. Blood drips, he said. His heart was biting for love. He had a deadline to make. Do not misinterpret this. Immortality is rationed. His story ended before he could do any more. A heard he died. Water was quickly thrown on the ground. She needed to put out her fire. A looked towards the field, saw a cow just standing there. She would only eat salad sprinkled with basil. J/M. J loved fake names. He was a burnt-out novelist, wrote too many stories about horrific blind dates. He was a wild man, too many plastic bags in his kitchen. He would kill you, burn you, pretending it was love. M was an elementary teacher, went out with J. She thought he was popular, would bring her wealth. M was wrong. Her fate lay at the water's edge, an alligator. And the last one is called R/N. R liked tea in the afternoon before he went fishing. Sometimes the crisp air mortified him. He would sit and build a fire, One by one, he took the worms and burnt them. He was grateful for such beauty. Anne thought she could allure him to stay home in fishnet stockings. It never worked. She fell into this routine daily. The police later found her dead, not much left on top of a woodpile, with fishnet stockings on the ground. I guess R was paying attention. Thank you. And I just want to say, if anybody has any questions for me, that would be fine too. I put you back in gallery.
Did you write all those poems in the last 12 months or during the COVID event or previously?
I wrote them in the last year and that. So I guess COVID helped me that way to really finish it. And that some of them, I probably deleted about 20 of them from this book. With the help of Catherine Sasanoff, Renuka, and Karen, who helped me a lot with the poems.
If it's not too nosy, this is James over here in the corner.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I have a question about process.
Mm-hmm.
I'll string the question out and then you compact it and answer it the way you want. Do you write mornings, afternoons, evenings? Do you write spontaneously? Do they fall out of the sky onto your page? Do you discipline yourself and anchor yourself and force yourself to write for periods? How does that work for you?
Oh, okay. I love to write in the wee hours, like about 12, 1 o'clock or 2. And even if I'm not writing it on paper, I'm writing it in my head.
Right.
I usually carry a little notebook around with me if I'm not at home, but sometimes things will just come to my head and I'll write it down. I'm a sporadic writer. I can go for months without writing, and then all of a sudden I will write like a mad woman.
Okay. Yeah, it's very much like mine. I can go weeks at a time with very, very little, and then suddenly there's stuff happening. I'll shut up and let other people ask. Thank you very much.
Oh, sure. And I was just going to say, I don't stress over it either. Some writers stress. If they don't write every day, I don't.
I really appreciate your reading. They were absolutely fabulous. I got to get the book.
Oh, thank you.
You bet. Okay. Next up.
I have a quick question, Gloria. Thank you again. Lovely reading, and thank you again for allowing me the honor and privilege to host this event. Who, when you were young, I'm sure we all were born reading before we could even speak almost. Who inspired you and you read that you said, wow, this is a different kind of form of grammar and language and expression that spoke to you to say, I want to do this. I want to be a poet.
So what are you asking me? Why I wanted to be a poet?
Yeah, who inspired you, who you first read when you were young and said, this is a wonderful form of expression, and I want to try this. I want to do this.
Oh, okay. Well, when I was younger, Matthew Arnold, Keats and Shelley, I loved them, even though I write, of course, differently than what they do. But I loved that. And my mom and dad always had tons of books around. Some of them were poetry and some I didn't like at that time. I was like, oh my God, get away from me. I don't like that, like Frost and that. Of course, I've changed. But it really hit for me when I was in college. I would disappear into this old library and read poetry, and I found that I really loved it. And then when I started reading translations that did it for me, I started writing. There is something about Eastern European writing for me, European writing, Russian writers. I mean, I was discovering them all, and it was just so wonderful. And that's what I
think we got like 10 days ago. But yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Glo.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Yes. Oops.
Hi, Ellen.
Hi, how are you? So thank you for the invitation. And and they were quite lovely. And I'm thinking two things, if I can have two questions.
Sure.
I'm fascinated by how you came to the title. And I was wondering if you could tell me who you're reading now.
Oh, okay. Actually, as a gift, I got about 7 translations, so I'm so excited. And I have the full collection now of Vasco Popa, who I've read before, but I'm rereading. I love his work. And always names I can't say. I can send you the list.
Okay.
My pronunciation of foreign names is horrible, and everybody knows it and teases me all the time, saying, Gloria, say this. But you know, and of course, I pick up Neruda all the time. I love his work. He's probably the most inspiring, you know, for me. But there's many writers. Andre, maybe you can help me pronounce it. Rashskaya, pencil letters by her. I love that and read that over and over. So really, many books. There's many translations behind me, too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And the title?
Oh, okay.
How'd you come to that?
From the phrase, you burnt me, or I've been burned in fire, and I thought, well, okay, I'm going to call it Ash. So that's how that came about.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Hey, Gloria, I'm going to ask you kind of a question you probably been asked before, but how about your sequencing? Did you have to go through it like a million times like a lot of us, or did you just kind of have it set out, or how many times did you redo it to get to the place you were in the book now?
Do you mean the order or just?
Yeah, order sequencing, yeah, and then content, and also poems, yeah.
Okay. Let me think here. I would probably say twice. I kind of had a feeling once I wrote them what would go by each other, especially the last section. That was probably the easiest. But yeah, kind of I tried to group them together and then kind of give a break with something else. And, you know, so I would say twice it came pretty easy for me.
Not bad, yeah.
Yeah, I find that easier sometimes than other stuff. So
yeah. Maybe it's because of all your editorial experience as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that helps. I love doing it for other writers and have been asked to do that, and it just like comes very quickly to me.
Yeah.
And,
So that's
you know,
good. That worked in your favor. Yeah. Well, it's beautiful. Congrats.
Thank you.
Gloria, we're talking about process, and I was really moved and taken by the several poems where they ended with a twist, a powerful, nuanced twist. And I wonder if that's something that's organic, that just flows, or if it's something at the end that you work on to achieve.
It just comes to me. I'm very lucky. I like to end things with kind of a pow, so to speak.
Yeah.
So usually I don't have to think about the ending. You know, sometimes with editing, it comes to me what I pretty much know what I need to get rid of. And then I have help sometimes, you know, I meet with Renuka and Karen monthly, sometimes a little longer, and they are a big help, and they have eyes sometimes with things that I don't see. But the ending seems to always happen for me the easiest.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm, thanks.
They were wonderful. This was a beautiful evening, and the readings were very powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello. Hi, it's Dana.
Where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Gosh, I love your poems. You know, I know from the round table and just hearing you read these now, I'm so excited to get your book. I mean, I love the way you write and the imagery in your poetry. I can really see what you're expressing, you know, and I like the darkness. I like dark poems too. And I like how you described how you came to the title Ash. I love that. I love the background of it, you know, and then how some of the poems are related to it. Yeah, I just really love your writing. And I like, you know, what you said, that even if you're not writing in those wee hours, that you're writing in your head. I do that too. Like, I find myself thinking in this, like, is that one to write down or just continue thinking about? So it was really neat hearing you say that. Like, there's always so much going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, beautiful reading, beautiful poems.
Thank you. Yeah, my head's always going. Anyone else?
Sure, I have a question. I'm pretty new to your poetry, Gloria, and this is not a question about process, but it's about subject. Some of the poems about the serial killers they were pretty interesting. So I was wondering about sort of the reason for exploring these dark subjects, the fascinations and the sort of what drew you to such a pretty violent subjects, at least from my perspective. So.
Okay, well, I think the psychological aspect of it, ever since I was young, I'm just fascinated by the human brain and why people do the things they do, and such horrible things, and having no social conscience, you know, really of what they're doing. I mean, I find it fascinating. And besides reading and watching all those shows, I love forensics. I love all that stuff. I don't know, I've always been drawn to it and interesting. And I can handle all the graphic details in the books and on TV and that. It doesn't gross me out. It's just horrific and sad. And I like to write about those things, just as always, the atrocities too, the horrible side of the atrocities, to be a voice for people. So with the killings and the murder, I don't know, you know, I'm a happy person. You know, I'm not a dark person, even though I write dark. I've been, you know, even asked that before. I don't know why I'm drawn to it. All I can say is it's fascinating.
Thank you. I mean, based on our email conversation, you seem a very, very nice person. So the subject matter seems to be sort of different from the way I thought about you. But thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
So do the dark subjects ever affect your dreams? Because often when I'm reading things or writing things, it comes into my dreams, and I'm wondering if that happens with you.
Not that often, but it has happened, you know, or I might have a killer dream, but it doesn't happen too often, you know, so I'm glad of that.
But yeah, and the other part of it is when it comes into the dream, are you able to use that in your writing, either for new material or new take on something or anything?
Not really. There's really only one, and I remember I had it when I was a little girl, and it was this guy with a slanted face, kind of like, you know, distorted, and he was behind the wallpaper, like sliding, and I can still see his face to this day, and I think I had that dream when I was like 7 years old, and I don't know why I remember it, but someday that might go into something. So, but that's it.
Hi, Gloria.
Hi.
Lenny here. Do you, you know, I think there's two schools of thought on this. Do you feel that you have to sort of explain something that might not be so well known if you're referencing something in a poem, whether or not it's a footnote or whether or not it's a attribution at the top of the poem, some sort of epigraph or something, or italicize it, or somehow sort of saying, you know, look this up, or this is what this means, or just leave it go, you know, Google it if you don't know what it is. And I tend to fall on the side of, now that there's so much, you know, information out there online, you can Google just about anything. I fall on the side where if you're not quite sure what that is in the poem, look it up without having to have the poet explain or the speaker explain what it is that someone may not know what it is or understand. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. For me personally, I don't like to explain a poem or everything that's going to happen in my poem and then read it to you.
Right.
If you get something different out of it, I'm happy with that. Whatever you get, we're all so different sometimes. And if you get where I'm at, that's nice too. But I like an audience to think, rather than me explain it. And I know some people do explain their poems and that, but that's them. But for me, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. It seems that a reader, you have to expect the reader to bring something to the table if they're reading anything, really. Mm-hmm. I forget who said it. Something to the effect of when you're writing something, you're going halfway to the reader. The reader is coming the other half to meet you there. The reader has to bring some kind of something there to draw out what they can draw out. You're putting out what you have to offer on the table, and then it's up to the reader to sort of take from it, and bring something to it. Because everybody's life experiences are different. So.
Yes. Yeah. True. Yeah. I know there's been some poems that there might be something, I don't know, a different phrase, maybe from a different country or a word, and I look it up, so I don't lose the meaning, but I do that. So yeah, I expect, the audience or whoever's reading, if they don't know something, do it yourself. Yes, definitely.
Is that like Starved Rock?
Well, it's a state park, but yeah, it's like, yeah, look, if you're interested in Starved Rock, look it up. But it's a wonderful state park. And it was almost in my backyard growing up, very, very close. And you should know that anyway, because you're from the area.
You bet it.
Yeah, hey. So another Midwesterner.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go on with it.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, wait. Dad, did you want to say something?
Yes, I did.
Thank you for a very interesting evening, Gloria.
Thank you.
Enjoyed everything. Look what I have here.
Oh, no. Oh, Fiona! Everybody, that's Fiona, my
kind of awkward. There she is.
Aw. I know, she loves your lap.
Right. She's behaving.
Yeah, no barking. Yay. Hey, Fiona.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you, Dad.
I have a question, but congratulations, first of all.
Oh, thank you, Diana.
I have a question, and I hope, I'm just very curious, but I hope it will come out right. I've been teaching survey course in poetry this semester, modernist poetry. And then when I was writing, I discovered that I was influenced by the poets whose work I was teaching, because I had to read them in depth. And I was wondering, as an editor, you likely read all the time, and you read in depth to edit or to make your choices. I was just curious that if you ever feel an echo of the other books, the books you published, the books you read, the manuscripts you read and didn't publish in your own poetry. Did I make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I read constantly. It's like almost, it seems like 24 hours a day, especially, yes, being an editor besides my own work. I think when something hits me, whether it's a manuscript I'm looking at or a book I'm reading, if there's some lines or something in it that just is I don't know, amazing. That makes me tick. I'm like, oh my God, how come I couldn't write this? You know, I'm influenced. I think, how can you not be influenced when you read good work? You know, and I feel that way about all the books I published. I love the writers I published and am publishing. I love the books that I read, the translations and that. How can I not be inspired by that? It's a big influence, and I think it's a really wonderful feeling to have. I don't want to write like somebody else. I want to keep my style, so my own style just comes naturally to me, so I don't have to worry about that or all of a sudden developing somebody else's style. I just think there's nothing more amazing than the influence of reading.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you. So we have time for one more question. Anybody else?
Samantha.
Where's?
It's I'm somehow got my daughter's account. I don't even know how that happened, but I'm Pam, and I have a question, Gloria. I loved your reading. I love the poems, and I loved your physical reading presentation. And I remember years ago we read together too, and so there's such a connection. But my question is this: I know the book of poems was accepted before the pandemic, but I wanted to know if the pandemic affected your writing in any way. That's my question.
Okay. Well, I'm being at home so much, I wrote more. That was a good thing. I decided to treat it as a writer's retreat because I've never gotten to go on one. And I thought, well, this is it. Home is my retreat. So I wrote a lot. And it was nice to have that time. And though I didn't write about the pandemic, I wrote one little poem, but that's it. I choose, of course, to write other things. But yeah, so it was helpful to me in that way.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
From the point of view, someone who is like poetry obsessed, like I couldn't stop writing about it. But I think a lot of it was teaching on Zoom and just staring at black boxes all day. So that sort of was an aspect of it. But thank you. I loved your work. And I always have.
Oh, thank you so much. So I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. And again, Andre, thank you so much. And RJ, and everybody for helping me celebrate. And if you're interested in the book, you can get it from me at thelostbookshelf.com. But if you don't want a signed copy, please order from glassliarpress.com because small presses need to survive, and I really believe in that. So again, thank you so much, and you guys are the best.
Thanks, Gloria. Congratulations.
Thank you, Gloria.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Gloria.
Great reading.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, Gloria.
Bye, Gloria.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Gloria.
Bye.
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 Take care, Gloria.
Thanks. Bye.